Well guys, I've owned the 850J for about 3 months now. We've completed 4 jobs with it, put approximately 200 hours on it, and it has been an eventful 200 hours. I just want to kind of outline the issues, the repairs, and my thoughts on this old girl. All right guys, here's the purpose of this video. Ever since I bought this thing, it has been quite the adventurous whirlwind. A lot of things have happened. I've said a lot of things, covered a lot of things, and there's even a few things that never even made videos that I want to kind of go back and cover and make sure you guys kind of get the full picture of what all went down and the full scope of everything, and kind of know my final thoughts on the machine itself. Was it a good purchase? Was it a bad purchase? Would I do it again? What have I learned? Etc, 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 because I'm hoping I can remember it all. I actually got notes in my phone to make sure I got everything covered. So let's start with the very first video I posted of actually purchasing the machine. So the very first time you guys seen the 850J was the video I released of working at the go-kart track, of actually doing the machine. I kind of did a walk around with the machine and kind of went over the specs and a few other things. And I also, in that particular video, pointed out the first couple issues we had with the machine, which was the AC was not working, the track was on backwards, and the big one, the big one was the air filter. And in that video, I was not trying to throw CNC equipment, which is where I purchased the dozer from, underneath the bus. I was just trying to give you an honest reaction to me purchasing the dozer. I did not film the actual going and looking at the dozer and purchasing it. That was a couple days later, after I actually had the dozer here in my possession. And you guys were kind of experiencing it the same way I was as it was happening. So the major issues that popped up there was the air conditioning, the air filter, and the engine was running hot. So the next video you guys seen on this dozer after the initial one where we found the issues was the one where I actually did the repairs on it. We put a new evaporator in, got the air conditioner working. We had some issues with the fans. We worked on that. And then put the new air filter in and did all the work to the radiator to kind of get the radiator to run cool. If you guys remember all the coal dust and all the nastiness that we pressure washed out of there. One thing that is really important and worth noticing, at this point I had not contacted CNC and let them know I had issues. This was about a month after I bought the dozer. As far as they was concerned, everything was hunky-dory. The dozer was performing awesome. They had no hint or no indication there was any issues with that. The reason I didn't contact them is because I did contact them about the track being on backwards. They did change that for me, but I didn't get the sense from them they were really eager to change anything else. So I thought, you know what, I bought it as is. That's on me. I'll just repair this stuff and we'll go on with life. It'll be just fine. That's what I did. That's what you guys seen on YouTube. So from there, we hauled the dozer about an hour away to the big lake job we did up in Corden, Indiana. And this was the first real test for the dozer. This is where we first ran it hard for multiple days in a row, 8-10 hours a day, really kind of pushing the machine to its limits, and it did good for the most part. One thing that I did not cover really well in the videos on the pond job is the temperature was a little bit lower than what it's going to be in some upcoming issues I'm going to talk about. But after running 6-8 hours, we were still having some overheating issues. And we, at that time, thought it had to do with this guy. And this is the hydraulic motor that drives the fan in front of the radiator. This thing's about $1,800 and it was leaking oil. And we had a feeling it was bypassing, not driving that fan the way it was supposed to. So on that particular job, one thing that did not get covered, one thing that did not make YouTube, is we actually switched out this fan drive motor right here, and it didn't help. It didn't help at all. It was it wasn't a waste of money because it was leaking and needed to be replaced, but it did not help our cooling issue. One other thing that happened on this job that I did not cover that was unique is at the end of the day, when we would park the dozer and let it cool off, let it sit there and idle for 10 or 15 minutes, the hydraulic temperature would spike. And we're like, hey, boy, this might not be good. So to recap real quick, up there on the big lake job, we had the overheating issue. One thing that did make the video, if you guys remember, we had the hydraulic line that come loose, which that ended up being a pretty quick and easy fix. We did cover that in the videos. So from there, the dozer got hauled out. It didn't actually get used the whole lot for a couple weeks, but the dozer got hauled out and it went to the emergency dam repair job. And on this particular job, this is where YouTube timeline and real life timeline kind of cross and meet themselves up, because hopefully you guys will follow along and this will make sense here. We hauled into this job. The temperature was about 7 to 10 degrees warmer than what it was on the other job. And it quickly became apparent we had some pretty major issues, because we were running a whole lot warmer than what we needed to be, running, and our hydraulic temperature continued to keep climbing, and we were gonna have to do something about it. It was out of the ranges of where we could ignore it. We needed to take action. So on this particular job here, the emergency dam repair job, this is where the YouTube world and the real life world kind of combined and come together as one. So if you guys follow my channel for a while, you know that my videos are a month and a half behind. So by the time you guys were seeing the video of me purchasing the dozer, we had already completed the lake build and had started on the emergency dam repair. So the same day we started on the dam repair job, we were having all the overheating issues and all that stuff going wrong, is the same day you guys on YouTube seen me actually purchasing the dozer. So by that video being posted and some of the comments I said in there, that triggered Jay and Clint from CNC Equipment to actually get a hold of me. And yeah, that's where stuff's kind of started escalating quickly. So you guys kind of got to picture this in your head. Here we are sitting on this job with this dozer that's overheating. It's actually the third job the dozer's done. And you guys on YouTube are seeing me actually purchasing the video, which is what Clint and Jay from CNC Equipment are seeing at the same time. Their social media is getting blowed up with a lot of negative comments, which was not my intentions. I was not trying to throw them under the bus. I was just kind of trying to explain my experience in purchasing the dozer. So Jay reached out to me and he said, Mike, you should have got a hold of me. We're not like that. We would have taken care of you. We would have made all this right. We hate you had all the problems, etc., 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 which I thought in myself was pretty big of those guys to at least reach out to me and said, hey, that's not how we do business. We wish we could have done something different. We hate it all went down this way. And keep in mind, as I said earlier, I did not reach back out to him. Maybe that may be a mistake I made. Maybe I should have done that. So I said, well, guys, I got a few problems fixed, but the dozer is still having some pretty major issues. And I was explaining what was going on. I talked to Clint in the shop a little bit, and Clint's like, you know, you changed the fan drive motor. Maybe we need to change the fan drive pump. So that's whenever you guys seen me drive up to CNC Equipment, Clint gave me a used pump off another machine, had very few hours on it. He said, why don't you take that down there and give that a try once and see what happens and let me know. So you guys seen on the videos, I come back and we put the pump on, ran it that day, and it made no difference. We ran for a handful of hours. Machine started overheating, running close to 210, 220. It was actually running 220, 230. And towards the end of the day, we also had the same issue with the hydraulic pressures, or the hydraulic temperature. Hydraulic fluid was starting to overheat. So I got a hold of Clint. I said, man, I wish it was that simple, but I think we got something else going on that still seemed to not quite fix the problem. He said, all right, that's it. We're gonna make this right, whatever it takes. He goes, I'm gonna send a low boy down after that, and we're gonna haul this thing back to my shop, and we're gonna get this thing fixed for you, Mike. I said, well, lucky for you, I got another dozer. We still have the old 850B running. I said, if that's what it takes to get it fixed, let's make it happen. Let me know what I can do to help you. And the next day, he showed up with a lowboy, and you guys seen it. It went back to Nashville, Indiana for some repairs. So Clint, which is the owner of CNC Equipment, come down, picked the dozer up, hauled it up to his shop, and he found multiple different things that was contributing to our overheating issue. The biggest thing is he actually took the time to pull the radiator out of the machine and clean it, and what we found was the bottom third of the radiator was still just absolutely caked full of coal dust and mud. It looked clean from the outside being in the machine, but once he got it out of the machine and was actually looking through it with a flashlight, had multiple issues. Also, a lot of the fins were bent over from somebody before Clint or I either pressure washing this. So he spent several hours actually going through and straightening up all the fins, did an absolutely amazing job at that. He also replaced the muffler while he had it up there. It had a pretty major leak right here, and it was actually leaking hot exhaust gas up on the air filter sensor, which is what was kept causing that to fail. If you guys remember from the first lake build video, we had that light come back on. That was actually because the muffler was failing, of all things. And one other thing is we were having problems with the blade. The blade was bleeding off real bad, and whenever you go to raise it up, it'd like drop a couple inches and slam. If you listen, go back and listen to some of the audio in those lake build videos, you can actually hear the machine bang real hard, and the blade action on camera don't show up real well, but you can hear it. So there's a valve that's up here on top of the radiator. At that time, Clint changed out what he calls the quick drop valve, which is actually the blade float and allows the blade to drop without circulating oil all the way back to the main valve. So we got the machine back. That fixed the blade control issue. It fixed all of the engine overheating issues. But unfortunately, and I did not cover this in the videos at all because there was too much going on, we still had some pretty major hydraulic fluid overheating issues. So this hydraulic fluid overheating issue would not show up on the piece of equipment on the dozer until we ran it for about 6 hours. Once the fluid started heating up, it continued to heat up, and then the weird part was if you let the dozer sit and idle, it would get hot really quickly, and it was continuously getting worse and worse. So got a hold of Clint, and he didn't hesitate one bit. He actually come back down, picked the dozer up, hauled it back to his shop, ran several tests on it, and basically through running a case drain test on the hydraulic pump itself, where he also seen way too much oil bypassing in the pump, but that oil, that bypass oil, actually had metal in it. It had a glitter look to it, which that's never good. So basically the determination was the hydraulic pump was failing, which probably is what caused our quick drop valve to fail, and was also causing some of our bleed off issues. So without missing a beat, Clint actually replaced a hydraulic cylinder, flushed the system, put a new pump on it, and actually gave me a filter and some oil to flush the system myself. And at that point, he hauled it back to us, and we headed out to the next job. After we received the machine back from Clint, it went out on a couple variety of different jobs, none of which I actually filmed, but the machine performed flawlessly. We had absolutely no further issues with the temperatures or anything in the hydraulic system. Everything was running cool, just like it was supposed to. But we still had just one small lingering problem. So what is that one last lingering problem, you ask? This dozer occasionally, on about 3 or 4 different occasions, it'll throw an EGR code for extreme or severe high temperature, and that's what we've actually been working on today. And if you guys will see here, this is the EGR valve we took out earlier, and I don't know if you can see, but there's a gap. See down there at the very bottom how it's not closed up properly? For some reason that valve is stuck. This is the new valve here. You guys can see how that gap at the bottom is closed up, so pretty confident that is our problem. Hopefully our one and only final problem with this machine for a while. So we're going to throw this new EGR valve on here this morning, and hopefully that takes care of our one last lingering issue. But unfortunately it's just never that simple, and it's not. This is not a John Deere problem. This is an equipment problem across all makes, all manufacturers, all brands. And it's one thing that really just gets underneath my skin. It aggravates me a little bit because there's just no sense in it. This little valve right here that I'm putting on has to be calibrated through the computer by a dealer. Well, a big piece of equipment like this, it's just not as easy as throwing it behind your pickup truck and holding it over to the dealer so they can plug it in for 15 minutes and calibrate this. So to get this job completed properly, I'm gonna have to either spend close to $1,000 and haul this thing to a dealer, or I'm gonna have to spend close to $1,000 and pay for a service call so the dealer can come out and calibrate this valve so everything, the computer, the engine, everything will be able to work together. Now my aggravation with this is all this equipment has the capability of doing that through the monitor in the machine. Any trained monkey can do it. We just need access to it. I don't know why equipment manufacturers, well, I do know why they won't allow us to have access, because they want that money for that service fee, but something's gonna have to change there, guys, and the only way it's gonna change is if we start advocating for it, and I think it's time to start doing that because we pay a lot of money for this equipment. There is no reason we shouldn't have access to those features in the monitor to program simple things like an EGR valve. There it is, guys, all back together. I think it's time to officially welcome it to the Dirt Perfect family. Check that out. Picked me up some oversized Dirt Perfect stickers just because I thought they looked pretty cool on the green dozer, and I'll have to say, I'm kind of liking it. I thought about covering up the John Deere back there, but we'll go ahead and let John Deere have their place and stick with the Dirt Perfect. I had to raise this one up a little bit, get her to miss the handle, but I'm liking the way she's looking. What do you guys think? Should I throw a few on the Volvo or leave it be? Kind of like it. I think it's pretty cool. I don't have, if you guys haven't noticed, I don't have my name or number or advertising on any of my equipment. This is actually the first one in a long time where I've done that. So I don't know, I just like the green, the white, and the black contrast there. I think we'll keep it. Hopefully she'll stay. So before we close out this video, guys, I want to hit on a few other things. One is the comparison comments I've made between the 850J and the 850B. I want to make sure I'm clearing that and that I don't mislead anybody. I did a complete walk around on the machine, kind of a side-by-side comparison, talked about the blades, how they're mounted and all that stuff. One thing I've alluded to several times, and Jerry talks about quite a bit on the 850J versus the 850B, is the balance of the machine. They are balanced completely different. It's not a good thing or a bad thing. One performs in better situations than the other. It just kind of depends on what you're doing. It has nothing to do with this being a military machine. It has nothing to do with this one missing the winch or the ripper. Don't have a whole lot to do with the blade. These machines are the cab. These machines are just totally different machines. The way they're designed, the way they're built from front to back. They're just completely different machines, which in return means they have completely different feels. So the first way I know to kind of describe the differences between the machines is this: the 850J weighs about 10% more than the 850B. I think it's about 4,000 or 5,000 pounds more. This machine here also burns about 10% more fuel than the 850B, but this machine has at least 10% more power. I would say probably even more than 10% more power than the 850B. And the main thing is, at the end of the day, guys, I can guarantee you if they run side by side for an 8 or 10 hour day, this machine is gonna move every bit of 10% more dirt. So this machine here, I would definitely say, is more productive than the 850B. But the biggest difference in these machines is the operator station. So I don't want to focus so much on the obvious difference, which is the cab versus non-cab, and all the wonderful amenities like air conditioning, heat, and radio that come along with it, because Jerry don't use it much, but it is quite nice. What I want to try to do is give you guys a perspective of actually sitting in, operating each machine, and what it takes to make each machine move dirt. So first thing, let's just kind of look at the visibility. This is just kind of a view from the seat, and you can see the corners of your blade fairly well. Visibility out the center is pretty limited, which is just fine. But the biggest difference in the visibility is the way this blade is shaped. You cannot see the corner of the blade because of the cylinder and the draft arms and the way they're mounted. and you find yourself kind of looking underneath the blade more than on the corner of the blade to kind of see how much you're cutting. That is quite a bit different than what you guys will see on the 850B here in just a little bit. I'll raise the blade up just a little bit where you guys can kind of see maybe a little bit different what I'm talking about. From there, the way the machine actually operates is completely and totally different. They're not even remotely close to the same way in the way they operate. So let me kind of go through that step by step real quick. First off, this dozer here has an electronic throttle. The farther you turn it, the more the engine will rev up. You guys can hear it. This machine also has what they call a decelerator pedal, kind of like the Cat D4G. If I push it down, it idles. If I release it, the RPMs increase. If the machine was in gear, the speed would also do the same. The farther in I go, the slower it goes. The farther out I go, the faster it goes. To go forward, first off, you got to release your safety lever. And look, one finger, I can click this thing into gear. If I let off the pedal, we're going to go forward, click her back, and now we're going in reverse. If I want to turn, I can simply push this lever this way, and it's kind of got a detent. If I push it a little bit farther, one track will spin forward, one track will spin backwards, and it'll actually spin right around on itself. If I want to go the other way, just as simple as going the other way. And like I said, basically electric over hydraulic controls works really nice, very smooth. To adjust your speed, this is your speed up and your speed down right here. You can see that corresponds with a number you guys see right there on the dash. With this style system, I can also go in the monitor and program pushing forward at one speed and reversing at another speed. It'll automatically change back and forth for me, which in long pushes is actually really nice. That is not an option on the other machine, the 850B. As far as the blade controls goes, this is a pilot control system. So basically I'm moving a small hydraulic valve. That hydraulic oil is going and moving the larger valve, which makes this valve here also very, very, very easy to move. You can see I can do it with just my finger. So back raises the blade, forward lowers the blade, and this tilts the blade left and right. Very easy, very smooth to use. This machine also has an air ride seat. There is no doubt if you're going to sit in a machine 8, 9, 10 hours a day, this machine is a lot less taxing on the operator. You're moving more dirt and a lot more comfortable to run. So now let's teleport to the other machine and I'll show you the difference. And just like that, we're sitting on the 850. The first thing you may notice is without the cab and the noise dampening, the noise is quite a bit more. It is quite a bit louder sitting on this machine. But also look at the view. You can kind of see what I was talking about. A lot less stuff right there. I can actually see the corner of the blade. This side here is a little bit harder yet. Whenever you're cutting grade, the visibility to the blade in the right places is a lot better on this particular machine here. Now, as far as operating this machine, it's quite a bit different. It does have some pedals we'll get to in a minute, but it has no decel pedal. This is your throttle. If you're going to run this machine, you just crank her wide open and let it eat. This here is your forward reverse. So if I put it in this position here, you get the safety up. That'll go forward. Switch it over. That'll go backwards. It's an all mechanical linkage. You're not moving it with one finger. It's not hard to move, but it's not easy to move. Now, if you want to turn left or right, you actually do it with the pedal. This pedal here will turn you that way. If you push it down all the way past the D10, it'll do the same thing. The machine will kind of spin on itself. That track will go one way, this track will go the other way. This pedal here will turn you that way and do the same thing. The one in the middle is actually the master stop. Now, this is the blade control. You got up, you got down, then you got your tilt. It is also mechanical linkage. It's not near as easy to move as the other machine. It's not hard to move, but it's not near as nice as that actual pilot control. So hopefully that explains the differences. Let's head back to the other one. Hopefully that all makes sense, guys. I just wanted to kind of make this video to kind of fill in some gaps. It's hard to cover everything as it happens, and not everything these machines does gets put on YouTube. So there's a few holes in there that I've noticed that maybe you guys watching didn't quite make sense to us guys that actually experienced. And there's a lot that's happened with this machine in the last 3 months since I owned it. So hopefully this video kind of helps bridge that gap a little bit and makes a little bit more sense for you guys. Overall, I am very happy with this purchase. I believe after taxes, I paid just shy of 80 grand for this machine, for you guys that are wondering it. I did buy it from CNC Equipment. I feel like I paid on the upper end of the value of the machine, but I also felt like buying from CNC, I was probably getting a pretty honest and a pretty good piece of equipment. You guys have seen the issues. They've been well documented, but I will have to say, guys, CNC Equipment has taken absolute excellent care of me. I made the mistake in the beginning of probably not calling them and letting them know I had issues. That was kind of unfolding as I was filming, so it just kind of happened. That was also on a Sunday, so I can't really call on a Sunday. Just bad timing, bad circumstances. I would buy from those guys again in a heartbeat, and I'm hoping this machine gives us several more years of some awesome videos and good service. It's definitely a nice compliment to the 850B and gives it a well-deserved break. One other thing that I did not follow up on very well while it's sitting here, if you guys remember on the lake build job, we were having issues with this thing throwing fuel rail codes, and it hasn't done it again. What I had done is I got this fuel treatment from TRC, Texas Oil Refinery, I believe what it is. This is some of the literature on it. I have used this before and mentioned it before in the Mack truck. It really smoothed out the idle and made a huge difference on that. I actually ran that in this machine the next day, and I've ran it one time since, and we have not had any further issues with that. I don't think I fixed the problem, but I think I definitely bought myself some time. I've used a lot of different fuel additives over the years. I will have to say, this may be one of the most productive ones I've used in the equipment. Made here in the United States. You guys can Google them and find all their products. We also use their grease and really enjoy it. So we'll see how much time that buys us. These new engines are so particular on the injection and the injection rate. So one dirty injector can definitely cause issues, or if they're not sealing off well, they'll leak fuel past them, which will cause the low fuel rail code problem. So hopefully I can buy us some time. Eventually we'll probably have to put injectors in it, but I'm not going to do it until we absolutely have to. But that's going to be a wrap on this one, guys. We have an awesome job ahead of us on this particular property. Believe it or not, somewhere down in there is a pond. We're going to find it, we're going to clean it out, and we're going to make it bigger. So stay tuned for that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, if you don't care to give it a thumbs up, definitely helps the channel. You want to make sure you don't miss the pond renovation job, go ahead and consider subscribing to the channel. Either way, guys, we shall catch you on the next one.